All right, everyone. What is up? Can you hear me? Or let me know, I guess, if you can't hear me or you can or whatever. Oh, I can hear myself. There we go. Forgot I had it on my phone. Okay, so you can hear me. Great. Um yeah, so it's the Wackest Crack live stream and I gave it that title. I just changed the title. I don't know if you can see it or not. Hello everybody. By the way, thanks to my mods, looks like who are here. Vanessa, AJ, Rebel Bird, and I don't know if Laura's here or not, but anyway, I'm very disorganized always about the modding. And I mean, for something like tonight, the 24-hour live streams, that's a lot of pressure. But something like tonight, I appreciate the mods, but if they did not show up, I'd be like, well, it's just it's going to be a short Saturday night live stream. It'll be okay. The 24-hour thing, though, I really appreciated them, especially on that. But thank you to the mods who are here. So yes, I changed the title of this to Whack is Crack live stream because I thought if I set my standards really high, if I give it that title, then it's going to have to be totally whack as crack. So that's the mood that I'm in. I've only smoked crack once, actually. That's not even a joke, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Everybody's got an indiscretion in their past. I'm definitely never been a Hunter Biden. All right. Okay. There was one moment of experimentation that did not impress me. So anyway, I think that's a good way to start off is talking about my illegal drug use in the past. What do you think? No, I went on a road trip with my family that it was something that with as I call them my sort of in-laws, it was something that we had planned for a long time. And as is the case with most things in my life, it sounds like a good idea. And then when it gets to be time, I'm like, ooh, that's really not working for me right now. Like, I've got a lot to do. I can't really afford to spend any money in any of these places that we're going to be going. But it was already scheduled. And, when someone gives you a place to stay, it's pretty hard to turn that down, especially if it is a place to stay in the most expensive place known to mankind or womankind. I'm talking about Aspen. Oh my god. Oh my god. It's like a different planet. I felt like I was trapped in a snow globe for rich people. Seriously. No. No. Well, I mean, kind of. No, it was very beautiful. But I've just never been in a place where people talk about billionaires in town so much. Like there's just like something crazy is going on when all of the millionaires are complaining about the billionaires. I'm sorry, I heard so many conversations. So anyway, long story short, right? They're not my relatives, the people who own this condo that they let us stay at or timeshare, whatever. They're not my blood relatives, but I call them my sort of in-laws because it's my guy's parents. And so it's a very weird feeling to be in a super expensive place that you absolutely cannot afford. Like I'm looking at the menus for like sandwiches and I'm just like, oh my God. But yet to be there, right? And to be observing this. And it was a beautiful place. I can see why people like it. It was a little bit boring for my taste though. Like Aspen, it's everything is too clean and too pretty and too like safe. There's no like grime underneath it for contrast, right? So Aspen needs like a tenderloin district like they have in San Francisco. So like you could have like so Aspen, it's a very small town. They just need like one street where people are shooting up and doing crack and defecating in the streets just to kind of set it off, like a little contrast there. So crack is going to be this theme for the night, by the way, because in a little while we're going to be talking about the German politicians who are smoking crack, and they're bringing that ridiculous woman to you say it the Bundestag? Is that how you say their parliament? Oh my god. Anyway, we'll talk about that later though. Um, yeah. So my takeaway from being in Aspen is that it's very pretty, but it needs a tenderloin district. That's all I'm going to say, or like a tenderloin street. I say that because if you've never been to San Francisco, so I went to San Francisco years ago. Must have been like 5 years, 5 or 6, maybe more years ago, and that was before it had even gotten as bad as it is now. But I mean, it was bad enough back then, and people were talking about how like they were kind of losing San Francisco, as if it's like falling away into the ocean. We're losing them. We're losing San Francisco. Anyway, but I was hearing about this notorious Tenderloin district, And so I was like, "Well, we gotta go to this place. Like, this is number 1 on my list, apparently. Like, this is the place for some interesting culture, let's put it that way." And so we walked through it, and I was like, "Well, that's pretty much lives up to its reputation," actually. Of course, now that's basically like any street in any city right now. Yeah, so, but that's what we did. So we went on a road trip, and so we drove. I drove with my guy. We drove like 5,000 days to get to Aspen and then come back down to Texas. So I'm just kind of like this right now that I'm back, because what's interesting is that over the last few days, and this always happens when people go on vacation, I feel like, particularly people who like do like YouTube or social media current event stuff. Yes. Oh, thank you, Vanessa. And by the way, everybody, my tip jar link is below. So if you look at the description underneath this video, tip jar is below. And so I appreciate the super chats. YouTube does take more of your money than PayPal. So if you donate during the stream to PayPal, the link below, I will read your text, your message if you want to. You just write it, you just type it in when you do the PayPal thing. But whatever you want to do, it's fine. The links are below. Thank you. Okay, so what was I talking about? Yeah, so when you go on vacation, it's like, and I was even joking to somebody about this. I said, "Okay, I'm about to go away," and I still did. If you watch my channel, I still did a couple of videos while I was away on my trip. But I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna go away, and like all of this stuff is gonna happen," and it's true. Pretty much every story that I'm interested in or following, there have been in the last few days, particularly, there have been major developments. And then there's just been a lot of just other stuff in the news, that's fascinating, interesting, that I would love to talk about. So I don't even know where to start. We're not gonna get through all of it tonight because, it's not gonna be a marathon, but a lot of things to talk about. So the first thing, though, I would like to have a prop for tonight. I wish that I could say that I'm sponsored by Jagermeister, but actually I'm not. So there's actually no reason for me to have this except that I thought it would be an interesting prop. It kind of goes with the color scheme around me. Like, it all kind of fits together. And but the reason that I have this, I wanted to talk about the history of this drink. This is completely apropos nothing, but I learned some interesting things about Jägermeister recently. So, Jägermeister, I think, first of all, let me just say, I think is the most disgusting thing that humankind has ever invented taste wise. I cannot even imagine why anyone thinks this tastes good. Well, I can't imagine why anyone thinks any alcohol tastes good, because I don't really like alcohol. Just, it kind of makes me feel sick. I'm not saying like when I was in college I wouldn't do the binge drinking that everybody does, but I'm just saying like I tired of alcohol really really quickly. And so I don't think any of it tastes good, but this is like a whole new level, a whole other level of of what do we want to say, of taste bud horror here. And so for some reason, though, I randomly looked up Jägermeister the other day. I think I was looking up, for some reason I was looking up what different things alcohol can be made of. And so, like vodka, potatoes, and, like lots of alcohols like grain and things, right? And so anyway, so I thought I was looking this up just out of pure curiosity. And then I looked up Jägermeister. I'm like, what is Jägermeister made of? And so anyway, it's like a bunch of weird shit. Here, I have to look it up now. But I have something interesting to tell you about Jägermeister. No, but it's a bunch of weird shit. So here we go. Composition. It is a type of liqueur, and it is okay, here we go. It includes 56 herbs, fruits, roots, and spices, including citrus peel, licorice, anise, A-N-I-S-E, I don't know what that is, poppy seeds, saffron, ginger, juniper berries, and ginseng. Do you know how disgusting all of those things are in isolation for the most part? That is a list of the most disgusting things. So there was some genius that was like, I guess, 100 years ago or something, was like, let's take the most disgusting tastes that we can think of and mix them together and then make alcohol out of that. No, but I've only begun to discuss actually what's interesting about this. So here's what's interesting about the history, okay? Um, so this was originally, okay, this was originally a working class European male drink. Like traditional, the name Jagermeister in Germany literally means master hunter, hunt master. So like very masculine. And it was drunk by older blue collar Germans as an after dinner digestive aid. That's what this thing originally was. It was blue collar Germans drinking this bitter alcohol made from these different herbs and stuff to help with digestion. And I guess, yes, get intoxicated too, right? They're Germans, but no, confusing that with Russians, right? So the whole cliche about Russians just being a bunch of drunks. I'm not saying I subscribe to that. Anyway, so how did this become what it is now? Well, what happened was, and let me just make sure I'm getting this right, okay? All right, I'll read this to you. It's from Wikipedia. Jagermeister came to greater international attention, particularly through the work of Sidney Frank, who ran an American liquor importing company. From the 1980s, he promoted the drink in the youth and student market as a drink for parties, a quite different niche to its traditional conservative brand position in its native German market. New York Magazine quoted a market research firm describing this guy as a promotional genius for making a liqueur with an unpronounceable name drunk by older blue collar Germans as an after dinner digestive aid, synonymous with party! Get the Jaeger, the Jaeger, the Jaeger. So I just thought that was fascinating. Fascinating. So this was originally meant to be a nasty digestive aid for blue collar working class German men, and now it's party drink, but it is disgusting. It is truly disgusting. All right, so yes, there's a lot of things. I'm going to try to run through things just as quickly. Dave the Impaler, that is quite a name. That's a nice porn name. Germans gave it to babies so they would sleep better, probably. Well, it didn't say that in the Wikipedia write-up, but if you say so. Oh man. You don't want to give your babies too much of that, I don't think. Well, yeah, so what to talk about? I'm gonna try to run through the topics fast. So Johnny Depp versus Heard. We got that whole rehashed Channel 4 documentary that's now being represented on Netflix. And I was upset that I was not in it. I mean, not like terribly upset, but I was like, why couldn't I? I put out so many videos. I know I got on the train later than other people, but like, damn it, like they couldn't even put me in it once. Just want to be in it once. Anyway, and so I watched I watched the 3-part series, but I was so like bored with it because I've seen all this shit before and I didn't like their spin. So like I fast forwarded through it, but I was like, well, if I'm fast forwarding, I'll still be able to catch it if I come on the screen. So I fast forward, sort of skimmed through all 3 episodes, right? And I didn't see myself and I was like, and nobody was telling me that I was in it. And so I was just like, but then it turns out I am briefly in it and they have me. I wouldn't say it was like it is out of context somewhat. They have a quote from me in there, I guess, where I'm on. I still haven't watched it. People have just told me, seen myself. But I guess I was on one of these legal shows that I went on, and there's a quote from me apparently talking about some of these texts that were excluded from the courtroom, from the court proceedings. And I said something like, these texts are going to make Johnny look bad or something. And then so they just kind of sliced that one little snippet of me saying these texts might make Johnny look bad or would make him look bad. And they combined it with like ominous music and people saying some other stuff. And basically like me saying like, these are damning texts for Johnny Depp. This makes him look so guilty, which was not. I'm quite sure. I don't even remember saying that, because you talk for a long time. You don't remember what you say anymore. But like I'm quite sure that because I did my best, particularly during that trial, to not say anything negative unless I felt it was absolute. Like at the beginning of that trial, I didn't think that Johnny's team was doing a good job. So, and that's I'm not trying to get into a feud with them or whatever, and I'm not going to weigh in right now on what some people have been talking about lately of like why are Benchu and Camille saying that they like the series and they like Nick Wallace's book and I don't want to get to that right now, but I'm just saying like I didn't want to say anything negative about him, but there early on in that trial, I did think for the first day or so that Johnny's team was blowing it, and we could talk about that some other time. There's a video that I did. You can go back and you can look from like the first couple of days of the trial, where I have very candid conversation. I think with Andrea as well, but like it's like I don't think they're doing a very good job. But I mean, my tune, changed and my overall appraisal. I mean, they won. I don't know. That's the best way to figure out if somebody did a good job, right? But I understand there's the argument that some people are making. Well, they could have won more. They could have won better in a bigger way. There were things that they left out. Why wasn't Elon Musk stuff in there? Whatever. Like I get it, but I don't want to weigh on any of that right now. Um, but my point is that I really it is unfortunate to me that the only time that I ended up in that 3 parts Channel 4 Netflix documentary was to say something that was taken out of context to make it seem like I was saying, "Oh, these texts are so bad. The truth is," as if to say basically like the truth for Johnny, the truth is really bad. He can't spin this one, people. He can't spin it. So anyway, I didn't like that. But I guess there's a part of me still that's like, well, at least I'm in it in a very egotistical, narcissistic way. I'm like, at least I'm in it. But it's interesting though how it seems like there are a number of people on the other side. I'm talking about Amber Stans who I know some of them think that the documentary is damning for Depp, but some of them don't seem too pleased with the documentary either. It seems like they kind of don't like it either. It seems I'm seeing some of them say, well, it's just rehashing all the misogyny against Amber and everything. So I get that. I get there's complaints on both ends. But anyway, I just thought it was a bad documentary too. Well, I skimmed through, a lot of it, but I guess it's like one day someone will come along. It won't be me because I don't have time. But one day someone will come along and make a good documentary about this whole thing. I mean, what we've seen so far is not it. But someone will come along and they'll make a good documentary about this whole thing, and I look forward to that. And I want Rachel Weisz to play me. I've decided I want Rachel Weisz to play me in any movie that I might be in for any reason whatsoever. So just everybody understand that. Yeah, so that happened. There was the Johnny Depp Amber Heard stuff that happened, and Kat Tenbarge. I saw that she made another TV appearance on some Canadian channel. I haven't had the pleasure of watching that yet, but yeah, she talks about people exploiting she talks about pro Depp YouTubers and social media personalities exploiting the trial. Like, what is she doing? Like, who the fuck would have her on TV to talk about anything if she wasn't yapping about Johnny Depp? She's a bigger freeloader on Johnny Depp than Amber Heard's cabal of worthless friends was. I swear to God. You can add Kat Tenbarge in there with Io and stuff. Oh, and that loser who had her jewelry business next door in the penthouse next door, Rocky, jewelry business. I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult anybody on this thread if you do jewelry or if you own a jewelry business, but like this whole thing, like everybody in Hollywood, it's like you've got, all of these like housewives who they want something to do, these wealthy housewives and whatever, or these like hipster people, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I make jewelry. I design jewelry." I design jewelry, yeah. If it seems like every other girlfriend or wife of a major Hollywood hotshot, it seems like that's what I do. I'm a jewelry designer. Anyway, I only say that because I don't wear any jewelry, so I obviously have no appreciation for, I'm sure, the great level of skill that and brain power that's required to make a ring that looks like every other ring. But anyway, so yeah, Kat Tenbarge, she's basically just projecting what she does onto us. And I'm not saying that, I mean, look, everybody, you can't report this. Nobody would report any of this stuff or take the time to make these YouTube videos other maybe than Brian McPherson and like Jax or Laura. I mean, there are some people who I will grant you, I don't think they're working out of selfish motivation. But most of the time, if people are going to cover a story, yeah, they're doing it for their own personal reasons too. It's not sinister, it's not horrible. But for Kat Tenbarge to sit on her perch and attack me and other people and cast aspersions on us and say, "Oh, we're just we're just freeloading, we're exploiting Johnny Depp thing to try to get clicks and views." Well, what the fuck are you doing? I don't understand. Seems like her waistline gets bigger every time I see her though on these shows. Never mind. Anyway, so yeah, that's that. That happened over this past week. And what else? What else? Okay, so Andrea Burkhart on the Marilyn Manson stuff. I don't know if we have anybody on this. We probably have a few people here on this stream who are interested in the Manson stuff. Hello, everyone. I'm sorry. I'm wound up tonight. I'm on lots of crack, muchos crackos, and so I'm not doing as good a job recognizing the comments as I normally would be. Muchos crackos. Andrea Burkhart, the attorney whom I have on here a lot. Most of you know her. There were developments in the last few days in the Manson case. I'll explain in a moment. And so I had her on my show. I had her on at the last minute, really. And so that's part of the reason why I'm frazzled and feel like I'm on crack too, is because I've actually done 2 interviews today already. One of them I just put out about the Dylan Dennis Logan Paul thing. I'll talk about that later. But but I just talked to Andrea, and so that'll be coming out hopefully tomorrow. But she just blew my mind about something related to this Manson thing, and it makes me feel like such a dumbass that it didn't occur to me. But I love those moments, though, because I feel like I'm so seldom surprised by things in life, or that, and that's not really necessarily a testament to my intelligence. I just feel like I'm kind of jaded. I've sort of seen it all or heard it all or whatever. And and so when someone tells me something that's like a new perspective, truly new perspective, or new information, that I'm just like, whoa. And so she told me something that just blew my mind. So I'll tell you in a second. I'm going to put the video out tomorrow. Okay. So, what happened the last few days, there were new court documents released in the Marilyn Manson in the civil suit. One of the civil suits that's been brought against Marilyn Manson, and this has been in the pipeline for a while. It's one of the Jane Doe lawsuits. Got this Jane Doe. Her name is Chloe Black. Everybody knows who's paying attention to this or whatever. I don't care. But she's an aspiring singer. She's the one who, when she came out with her allegations on Instagram, she also had a song or like an album about her experiences with Manson that she was out there hawking basically, and all kinds of ridiculous stuff in her lawsuit. I've gone over it before, like, a long time ago. It's just, it's as nuts as any of the others. But she's doing the Jane Doe process, and I don't understand why some can do the Jane Doe and some don't, or some want to and some don't. But what it means is that if it goes to trial, it's going to be a sealed trial, so I won't be able to attend, tell you what's happening. But anyway, point is, this is going to trial in October, like in 2 months. This is going to trial, and or it's going to get settled. And, I've talked about this before, what I think about all this. I don't want to retread that ground. But, a lot of the time people are forced to settle even when they don't do anything wrong. And so it may very well be that Manson settles, and that's no indication of anything, except that they're bleeding him out of money. So, point is, though, this trial is slated for October, in a couple of months. And there are exchanges via text and via email between Manson and this Jane Doe, Chloe Black, and they are, Manson says, exculpatory for him. But guess what? They're on his devices, his computer, his phone, all of that. And there's a slight problem, which is that the DA and the police, they still have all this shit. Because you remember, like 5,000 years ago, when they raided his home and they did their search, and then they since then, it's actually been like, what, a couple of years ago. But anyway, they have had these devices, and they've had plenty of time to do a thorough excavation of these devices. They know everything about him. They probably know more about him than his wife. They're just sitting on it. They won't give this shit back to him, because they say, well, the case is not closed. Well, we know that the cops closed it and they sent the file to the DA. Okay, that was reported on at the time, credibly. They sent the file to the DA. The DA that did this weird maneuver where he was like, well, they've sent me the file, but I don't feel like it's complete. So we're just going to wait until they can send me the completed file. So that was a year ago. Like, nothing's going on. The cops are not, they closed it. They're not investigating. It is just sitting there, metaphorically speaking, or perhaps literally. It is sitting there with George Gascon. And so Manson has to go to trial or settle, but he has to go to trial. If he doesn't settle, this thing has to go to trial, civil trial in 2 months, and he's got all of these exchanges between him and this woman who's suing him on his devices that the DA will not and the police will not give him because the DA will not close the case. I mean, is that not the most lunatic thing that not maybe that you've ever heard, but is that not a lunatic scenario? And so you'd say, well, okay, surely the judge in civil trial that's coming up, surely the judge will understand that that's unfair and will say, okay, we will give you an extension until you can get your devices back. But no, and that's what we found out this week with the filings, with the rulings. The judge says, nope, we're going ahead. October 2023, 2 months. That is your date. Sorry if you got all of this exculpatory shit on these devices that you can't get back because the government has them. I mean, it is Kafka-esque. Kafka-esque. It is so Kafka-esque. Even if you don't know anything about Kafka, I'm just telling you, like, that is Kafka-esque. But that's not the thing that she told me that Andrea told me that blew my mind. This is just I'm just setting up for you the state of things, the situation. But I'll tell you what really blew my mind. So I have been asking myself for the last year since the cops closed the case on Marilyn Manson, and Gascon got the closed case and then did this weird thing of like, well, it's actually still open, and then he just sat on it for a year. It has been a year, it's been a year since the cops passed this case over to Gascon, and it's been almost a year since he came out and said, well, we need more evidence or whatever. And so I've been asking myself, why? I mean, look, I get it. Okay, the guy is super woke. He's so woke that even the liberals don't like him, right? He's ineffectual. He's ridiculous. He just gets so much shit, Gascon does, from his own constituents, from his own party even. And so I'm like, okay, maybe he is just so woke, or whatever term you want to use, but so inclined toward the quote unquote female victim's perspective that he just cannot bring himself to clear Marilyn Manson. And I was thinking, okay, so that's it. It's a woke thing. And also maybe because, he's afraid of some of the pressure that he would get, because Evan Rachel Wood has been applying so much pressure, and that maybe he's afraid that if he clears Manson, she'll set him on blast or whatever, right? And that's what I've been thinking, right? But I was talking to Andrea, and she said something that was just so, like, startling to me. And it's in the video. I'll bring it out tomorrow. She said, well, there's something else to think about here. When a case is closed officially, then a lot of, or a certain amount of, the paperwork and the investigative files and documents and police reports and things like that, a certain amount of that is open for the public, or at least open for an information, what do they call them? Request, right? Document request. When you close the case, there's a lot of investigative documents that become available to the public, or that the public can access if they seek them. Was that freedom of information type request? And here's the thing. Those detectives, they investigated all of this. And I 100% totally believe that they know it's a hoax. That they may not know all of the ins and outs of it or whatever, right? But they know, they investigated thoroughly. First of all, they know that Manson is innocent. He's not this monster. He didn't do these things. And then also they've been investigating the hoax itself, just as a part of investigating Manson, trying to figure out what's going on here. And I've done videos on this, and I've talked to actually, a couple of people, one in particular that they interviewed. So here's the crazy thing. What if the reason that Gascon does not want to close this thing is because when he closes it, there will be documentation indicating that this was a hoax, that will be made available or would be subject to availability to the public upon request. I had not thought about that. I feel like such a dumb shit, dude. And here's the other thing that she said, all right, is that you've got all of these politicians, a number of California politicians, but also people across the country who rallied behind Evan Rachel Wood. And remember that, what's her name, Susan Rubio, that helped her to, with the Phoenix Act and all. I mean, like, you have a kind of a machine, a political machine that threw in its lot with this crazy woman, this crazy lunatic liar, Evan Rachel Wood. They threw in their lot with her when it looked like the obvious bet. And so can you imagine, with all of that, that Gascon has this file on his desk that with all of these documents that the public might see indicating that it's a hoax, and it would put egg on a bunch of people's faces, including Gascon. I mean, that's just fucking sinister. It really is. And it explains why he cleared Armie Hammer, but he would not clear Manson. That's the other thing that was getting to me. I was like, okay, because when he cleared Armie Hammer, whenever that was, several months ago, I was like, huh. I was like, that's strange because he won't clear Manson, and I know he knows Manson's innocent. But he'll clear Armie like, what? And Armie Hammer had multiple women accusing him and stuff. Now, granted, not well, I was gonna say not as serious, but actually, yeah. I mean, that House of Evie girl, we know she's full of shit. We know some of the others are too, but I mean, they did accuse him of serious things. And there was that whole cannibalism thing. I don't think anyone actually believed that Armie Hammer was cannibalizing people, but I'm just saying, like, I couldn't figure it out. But it makes so much sense now, because the politics of the Evan Rachel Wood Manson thing, much more complicated, much more problematic from Gascon's perspective. It's much more of a tinderbox or whatever, and there are many more people who can get egg on their face with that shit. And so I don't know. I mean, that is some Oliver Stone. That is some Oliver Stone. That is some Oliver Stone craziness there. Seriously, that is. I mean, really, it's conspiratorial in a way, but I think that it makes a lot of sense. And so, I was kind of like, I said to Andrea, I said, wouldn't it be ironic if Marilyn Manson's fate depends on a Republican getting elected to the DA's office? Because, Gascon is up for reelection soon. But if they get another, and I'm not trying to get political, but I'm just saying, if they get another Democrat in there, I'm not sure there's another Democrat's going to be like running to exonerate Marilyn Manson with all of this egg on the face potentially of other Democrats. And I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe Manson needs to start praying that they'll, that they'll elect a Republican. Anyway, that is just some spooky, spooky shit. It is some spooky shit. And I don't know. I guess we'll see what shakes out. But so Andrea, I was asking her what I was asking Andrea, like, well, what does he do? And of course, you can watch the video tomorrow. But she said, well, he could sue. I mean, he could sue the DA's office to get to there are mechanisms, but it's like, everything he is in. I know he's in some deep shit, because like everything, it's kind of like it's like quicksand. It's like he's just got all of this incoming, all of his craziness and all of his legal stuff. And so to really fight, I'm sure, the way that he's wanting to fight, it's tough. It's tough. And that's not to say, I mean, I've been saying this whole time, he needs to get out there and needs to fight the PR war and whatever. But yeah, I mean, the truth is, you don't ever know what you don't know. And it seems like he's probably in a lot of shit that I have no idea about. Because even this thing was just like mind boggling to me when it really sank in. And I was like, wow, there really is a sort of a strong political dynamic against him here. Anyways, so I don't know. But here's the thing. It just seems so totally unfair that this judge, sorry, one second. It just seems totally unfair that this judge in this civil case will not provide an extension. It is just it is ridiculous. It's Kafkaesque. So we will see what happens. But man, man, oh man, oh man. All right. Okay. Oh, sorry. Let's see. Somebody sent me a message here. No message, but thank you, Dwight. I don't read last names unless people request that I do. So I'm just going by first names. Thank you so much for that donation. I really appreciate you. And like I said, if you want to donate on PayPal, just type in a message and I'll read it. Yeah. So isn't that some crazy shit? Seriously, like I was like just kind of sitting there when she said that, like with my mouth open. I was like, man, man. Okay, so other topics, moving on. Rammstein, the German politicians are smoking crack. I posted that on Instagram. If you don't follow me, let me just say, if you don't follow me on Instagram, you actually should. Not so much Twitter. I'm kind of boring on Twitter. I mean, yeah, you can follow me there too. But on Instagram, like I actually post a lot of cool stuff and like funny memes and stuff and with music. And so it's a little different than what you get on my YouTube. And so if you're not subscribed or following my Instagram, then you should do that because I post some things that are really funny there. And I post usually a couple times a day. Sometimes I'll get on a roll. Like the last couple of days, well, see, I was driving, so we were doing this road trip from Colorado back down to Texas the last 2 days, and so I was just stuck in this truck and just like cramped, and so I'm like and bored out of my mind, and so like okay, I'll just start posting stuff on Instagram. So that's what I did a lot yesterday. But, yeah, the German politicians are smoking crack. They are not all of them. Now, I did have a couple of Germans get upset with me because, they said that I was making too big of a deal of this, and I was overgeneralizing, that in fact, it was only 2 German politicians that have invited Shelby to come talk at the Bundestag, their parliament. Okay, I understand, dude. I'm yes, it's not all Germans. It's a tiny amount. It's not all German politics, but like the fact they're having that fucking crazy Looney Tune freak come and speak in their main hall of government. Like, are we seriously crazy? You can look, Evan Rachel Wood is one thing, okay? We know she's crazy. We know she's a liar. Yes, but look, she puts on a good show. Unless, well, on The View that day, she didn't, because that's because Manson had just sued her and she was off her game there. You want to see who Evan Rachel Wood really is in all of this? Look at those interviews that she did right after Manson sued her, where she's like, she can't even like, she's like looking down and she's like touching her neck, and all of that, right? But she wasn't on her game then. She got knocked off her game. But Evan Rachel Wood on her game, she's okay in terms of her acting, so like that I thought her monotone speech in front of Congress, I thought it was kind of silly, but also I'm sure it was effective for people. When I was a young girl, I met this man. He told me all these things. I thought we were in love. If you haven't watched her, if you haven't, it's actually kind of funny. It comes across as just her being nervous. I think so. That's what she was trying to project in her acting. When she was like, I don't want to seem like an actress, so I'm going to just seem really nervous. So she when she's testifying before Congress and she's testifying before the California Assembly, and she's just like, when I was young, I met a man. He seemed very charming at first, but then things got worse. I had no idea he had a drug problem. I remember. I'm just going to get off track here for a second. I'll come back to Rammstein. But I remember back before I gave a shit about this Manson stuff. I know I've talked before. Okay, I have talked before about how years and years ago, when Manson and Evan Rachel Wood were dating, and she did an interview in a magazine. I've never been able to find it since then, but she did an interview in a magazine about their relationship. And I read that interview. I had no interest in either of them, but I read that interview and I thought to myself, this girl has borderline personality disorder, and Manson better watch out. I did have that distinct thought years and years ago, but I wasn't interested in their situation beyond that. I just remember reading this article. Evan Rachel Wood was saying stuff about their relationship, and I was like, she seems kind of loony, sounds kind of borderline, poor schmuck. Basically, that was what I was thinking. But I kind of forgot about it after that, and I had no idea about any of this stuff until I saw Evan Rachel Wood testifying before Congress. What was that, 2018? And and at that point, she had not named Manson, although in hindsight, she was talking about him, or maybe she wasn't, decided later, but whatever, now she's pinned that testimony on, that's about him. But So I didn't know it was about Manson, but I remember watching that, and she's testifying before Congress about all of these, and sort of reading, like a robot, from her statement. But she's testifying about these things that this guy did to her, and she's like, and then he cut me, and then he electrocuted me and tied me up. And I remember thinking, what the what? I mean, it's not like it's impossible, but, like, this is something from a horror movie, and I'm just like, "What?" Because I mean, look, it's one thing, and I'm not trying to make light of rape or sexual assault or anything, right? But it's one thing for someone to tell us, a story of like, "Well, I said no and he forced me," or he was abusive, or he said mean things, or he would hit me. I mean, like, those things are horrible, right? But, like, that's something that happens to some people, right, in this world. But like this thing about like electrocuting, and he tied me up, and he this and all, and I'm just like, wow, this girl is she's gone through some shit. She's been running with a wild crowd. I mean, I've just never known anyone who was electrocuted, personally speaking. I guess I have known women who were assaulted or claimed to have been assaulted, or had, and were in abusive relationships. But I guess I've never known anyone who was electrocuted, or some of the things that she described. And so I remember just being like, "What?" And it's not like I didn't believe it. I was just like, "What?" What? I mean, I wasn't laughing at the time. I was just like, "What the fuck?" But then though, when people I started hearing sort of these rumblings of like Marilyn Manson. I wasn't tracking it, but I did hear about when he walked out of that interview, or maybe he was on the phone and he hung up because they asked him about Evan Rachel Wood. And so that was the first that I had heard that maybe Evan Rachel Wood was saying some bad shit about him. But I didn't really care. Like, so I didn't really give much thought. And so I didn't think about it again until the week of Manson's cancellation, when Evan and then a bunch of those women came out on Instagram. And then in hindsight, sort of putting it all together. But I'm just like, what? You dated someone who electrocuted? I mean, it's almost funny. Like, if you can get past the fact that they're destroying this man's life, which I can't, but I'm just saying, if you could get past that, and you could get past like how infuriating Evan Rachel Wood's behavior is, like, it is. Whoa, she really reached for the stars with her hoax. Like, she had grand ambition. Most people just like do like a little hoax, so they might like gossip to some friends and say, "Yeah, he raped me. I knew some women who did that." I really don't think they were assaulted by some of the people they were talking about. But like, "Oh yeah, he raped me." Um, but like, to go like hardcore like Evan Rachel Wood, I mean, man, it's just a whole other level. It is truly unprecedented. And Marilyn Manson, Brian Warner, has managed to land himself in one of the most like absurd, perplexing situations that I have just ever seen anyone in, and just bizarre. Like, it's a whole other level of hoax. It's a whole other level of like insanity. So I don't know. I hope that one day you can make some money off of it. Like, I mean, that was part of my thing too about like, I wish he would do more PR, because it's like, dude, let's try to turn these lemons into lemonades. Because I just like, you're just getting like pounded into the dust here, when I think, you could maybe maneuver some here, and with some PR, you could use it to your advantage. But again, maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to go down that road again. I said what I had to say. But and of course, now I know that there's like a giant cabal of politicians aligned against him. Anyway, but back to Rammstein. So, yeah, so some of these German politicians have invited Shelby, and look, we're not talking about like maybe a more sophisticated accuser. We're talking about that ridiculous woman, Shelby. Have you watched my video? I put it out a couple of like a week ago, in which I spliced. If I'm not going to play it here, but if you haven't seen it, watch it. I spliced Shelby, the main Rammstein accuser. She gave a speech in Berlin. Like, she's already gone to Berlin, and now she's being flown back, which is the other thing that drives me nuts, is they didn't just give her an invitation. Like, the German government, I don't know if it's the government, but these politicians are flying her in there too. Like I'm sure they're going to put her, they're going to pay for her hotel, and she's going to be like faded, faded like this grand activist and celebrity. I'm sure she'll get great meals. They'll just be like applauding and what I mean. It already happened when they brought her to Berlin, what, a week or two ago, and she gave that stupid speech. But I did a splice of that speech that she gave at that feminist event with Amber Heard talking at a feminist event before. This was right before she wrote her Washington Post article. And Amber Heard was speaking. I mean, a lot of you have seen it. She was speaking at an event in LA, Me Too event. Oh my God. It was just mind numbing. It's just like one cliche after another. It's horrible, horrible speaker. But anyway, I took the Shelby speech from a couple of weeks ago. And then I took the Amber Heard speech and I spliced them together just to see like the absurdity and also how these things just keep repeating themselves. But if you look at her in that video, and then also I posted something to Instagram today, the same thing basically. But her speech, I swear to God, it's not an exaggeration. She had to stop 10 times or more in that speech because she got so like discombobulated. But not really, like she was pretending, like you could tell she was trying to act traumatized. And so she would like do these pauses and she'd be like, oh, I mean, it's not even an exaggeration. That's how she was acting. And it was just one cliche after another. She said, "Oh, we women, this." She has an Irish accent, which I can't mimic very well, but she was like, "This is truly a man's world. It's truly a man's world. We women, we don't have our morals. We don't have our own points of view. We can't do what we want. It's a man's world. It's a man's world." Oh my God. And of course, they gave her a huge round of applause at the end. So I can only imagine that this will be replicated on some level when she goes to the Bundestag, which is just so pathetic. I mean, think of all of the great speakers in the history of Germany. Well, minus was the Bundestag around during Hitler's time? I know the Reichstag, but I don't know, was the Bundestag around? Sorry, my history not so great on some of these points. But my point is, excluding Hitler, there's a grand history of some great oratory. Well, I mean, Hitler, technically speaking, he was like an effective orator, but we can't say any nice things because I don't want to get to Kanye territory. Oh my Lord. That was the Kanye thing. I made some people mad with the Kanye because I just said it was just unacceptable for him to be saying that shit about Jewish people and not that I was trying to get him canceled or anything like that, but I was just saying like this is not acceptable. So anyway, but what really got me with Kanye, sorry, I'm so off track, but the Hitler thing got me down this road. I'll get back in a second. But to the Bundestag. But what really got me with Kanye was when when he went on Alex Jones. You all know this, you've seen it. When he went on Alex Jones and he started saying like nice things about Hitler, and he was like he was like every human life has something of value. And then he said, especially Hitler. Like that, especially. I love it. That is hilarious, dude. Every human being has something of value, especially Hitler, as if to say, like, well, Hitler in particular has some really nice things we could say about it. Pity about that whole Jewish, Holocaust thing and trying to, take over and terrorize Europe and, all of that. But, he built the rail. What did he say? He built the highways? Did Hitler invent the Autobahn? What? He said that he invented the highways and he invented the radio. But of course, Kanye now and whatever's going on with that sort of wife of his, I don't know, that's a whole other, we'll talk about that in a moment. Okay, but Rammstein. So yes, so I'm just saying, like, I would imagine there have been many great politicians who have given great speeches in the Bundestag, and now they're going to add Shelby Lynn to that. I mean, and have these people even read any of the like the reality of this situation? Her original allegations were about knockout drops, were about being drugged at Rammstein, and that has just completely gone away. Like there was absolutely never anyone who said that they were drugged, and no way could any drugging be proven, any evidence like that just completely went away. And yet, and that's all that Shelby ever alleged, other than, yes, that she was alone at one point with Till, through very it's very nebulous and confusing, and I don't think we're not getting a straight story from Shelby. But like, oh, and he hit on me. And I said no or whatever. Like she has nothing to actually be speaking on. No great words of wisdom, no great well of insight or knowledge from which to pontificate. Like, I just cannot. It is truly, it is what Marx said. History is, and I'm not a fan of Marx, but Marx said history first is tragedy, then repeats itself as farce. And like, we are in the farcical realm here. Like, it is dystopian. It is downright dystopian and ridiculous and farcical that Shelby Lynn is going to be fated at the I almost said at the Reichstag, fated at the Bundestag, and treated like a great thinker and a great activist and a celebrity. And oh, I mean, it's just, I cannot. And the most awful, the most annoying thing was to go to her Instagram and see her doing that little jig of happiness. Here, I don't know, things don't come through very well when I try to share them, but a minute, I'll show you. Go to Instagram. I'm gonna have to log in because I'm on a different computer. That's annoying. Just a second. I'll be back. Give me like 1 minute to come back. All right, so let me share my screen. I just wanted to show you some of the stuff that Shelby Lynn has been posting. She is so elated that there we go. Hold on a second. She is so elated. Oh, I might not be able to show you on this because it's not on the app, is it? Damn it. Let's see here. Where are you, Shelby? Oh. Anyway, the point is she was doing this big jig, this like dance, since she found out that she is going to be invited to, that she's going to Berlin. She's going to be a hero. Okay, yeah, here we go. So you're able to see this, right? Yeah. All right. So let me make this a little bigger. Okay. Oh, did she take it off? Oh, damn it. She took it off or it expired. Okay, well, so anyway, this is what was going on. When she found out that she was invited to the Bundestag, she did this little dance and she filmed it, and it was like, I'll put it in a video. I'm going to make a video about this whole ridiculous thing sometime in the next few days, and I have footage that I saved on my phone of her doing this dance. And then showing off her tattoo. She got a new Mortal Kombat tattoo, because she's so edgy. She's such a fighter. She's an activist. She's got this big Mortal Kombat tattoo that's on her leg now that she was showing off. And then, like, she was doing all these pictures. She's like, oh my God, they invited me. It's just ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. And let me tell you the thing that's even more ridiculous. The political party, okay, let me say this. Up to this point, the big supporters of Shelby in German politics were the Green Party. And I don't know that the Green Party there correlates to our Green Party here. So I'm not making any comment, but they're very leftist. Oh, okay. Very, very leftist. And so yeah, they were some of them were supporting Shelby and they were speaking out for her and stuff, but people in Germany would say things like, "Oh, well, it's the Greens." I had so many Germans tell me that, which is, fine, it's legit, but so many Germans tell me that when I would say, "Oh, these German politicians supporting Shelby," and they'd be like, "Oh, it's the Greens." Everybody knows they're wacky in our country. Well, guess who has invited Shelby to the Bundestag this time? It's not the Greens. It is the CDU. The CDU and the CSU and the CDU, when I heard this, so when I read this, I thought, "Wait, isn't that Angela Merkel's party?" So, I'm not getting all into German politics and everything, but most of you are probably familiar with Angela Merkel, who used to be the leader of Germany and for years. And she was from the CDU. Was it Christian Democrat? Is that right? Is it Christian Democrat Union? Anyway, sorry. But the point is, people, is that this is a center to center right party. No, it's not considered really right, centrist, but kind of like traditionally center right. This is not the woke left, really leftist wackos or whatever. This is like sort of the mainstream boring party. So for them to invite her, and they're inviting her to one of their events. So it's like they're like, yeah, basically it's like we the CDU, we're standing with Shelby. And I understand it's not all of the CDU politicians. I know it's just a couple or whatever, but you really think that these prominent CDU politicians would be inviting Shelby to do this, knowing all the publicity that it's going to get if others in their party were not behind it? So it's looking to me like there are a lot of people who are non woke or who are not extremely to the left in Germany who are on this train too, this crazy train, or they just don't know any better, which, that certainly is the case as well. Like a lot of these people, they just don't even know what's going on with any of these cases. And they just think, and they just hear, oh, Rammstein, oh, let's get on that train. Oh yeah, this girl said there was a system and she was drugged maybe and all of that. And just the thing just gets rolling. But I've just found that shocking. I found that shocking that that it's the centrist and the center right people now who are bringing her in. It's like, man, did you not get the memo that this girl was discredited weeks ago? Have you not seen her Instagram? So I don't know, but Rammstein, they finished their tour. I know Lindemann is starting his, and I'm sure that these activists will try to kick up trouble for him, but I don't see how they can cancel the Lindemann tour if they couldn't cancel the Rammstein tour. So it looks like things are going ahead, and it's just going to be some irritating BS. But man, I thought this story was kind of wrapping up, and so I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to say about the Rammstein stuff going forward. I guess this is kind of it. But if they're inviting this crazy to their parliament and they're going to celebrate her and have her give a speech and whatever, well, okay, I guess I got more stuff to talk about now. My God. My God. Crazy. Crazy. Yeah, they're using her. Yeah, of course. Of course. She's like a useful idiot. And I have been told that there are more stories coming out about Rammstein and that there is a major TV documentary being done by some journalists about it. And so, I mean, this thing is it's still going. Like they are trying. The media are trying very, very hard to make this thing stick. It's interesting. It's the same thing with the Depp stuff. And the Manson stuff. I mean, in all of these different cases, the media attach themselves to a narrative very early on, and it tends to be it's the pro Me Too, pro accuser narrative, and then they're just like locked in. It's like a dreadlock. They just get like locked in progressively. Man, they just cannot give it up. They cannot give it up. So. All right. So what else? Well, I just put out a video. I interviewed Ariana Jacob for the first time. She actually has a defamation suit. If you're not familiar with this, she has a defamation suit against Taylor Lorenz of the New York Times. Oops. Ariana was an agent for TikTokers and like young like TikTok stars, and she agent manager, whatever you want to call it. And she actually had this mansion in LA where different young TikTok talent would come and they would live, and they would get sort of free rent, but they would have to produce content. And it was like basically the idea is if you have someone living in the house, then you can sort of manage them, right? It's easier if someone is living in this house to say, okay, have you done your video today? You do this or that, you two collaborate on this or whatever, than if, it's different people in different parts of the country. So she had this thing, and it's not that unusual. But she had a big house, that I guess she rented, and then she would have this different talent come and stay, and they would be producing shows. Anyway, the point is she got very, very, very successful. And then Taylor Lorenz of the New York Times did a completely ridiculous defamatory hit piece on her that was just trash, and ruined her, canceled her almost overnight. And so she's trying to build her career back. She's moved to Vegas, Ariadna. She's moved to Vegas. She's trying to build her career back, and she has sued Taylor Lorenz and the New York Times. Well, anyway, I was interviewing her for the first time because I saw that she had a tweet that had just recently blown up. So I don't know. I have no like knowledge or interest or anything in MMA or any of that cage fight. Like I don't even know. Like all I know about that is just Conor McGregor. That is like the extent of my knowledge is like who Conor McGregor is and that he's involved in that. And they like broke his ankle at one point or whatever. I don't know. They all have those cauliflower ears. But sorry, I'm trying to look up this person. So anyway, I have like no knowledge of really any of this, but I saw where Ariadna, she had posted something about this MMA feud between, here I'm going to put their pictures up just a second. All right. I don't even keep up with like the Logan Paul stuff, the Jake Paul stuff, all of that. Like I just don't care, have no idea. But this really got me. Okay, so okay, so Logan Paul, apparently he has this, oops, just a second. Oh, it's not it. Okay, so Logan Paul, apparently he has this fight coming up with this guy named Dylan Danis or Danis. I don't know. I'm going to say Danis. And Danis is really into the trash talk, and of course it's people understand when these fights come up, they want to build publicity for it, and so there's lots of shit talking and everything and like whatever, right? It's part of the process. But what this Dylan guy is doing that to me seems beyond the pale is he has turned this Danis guy. He's the one in the red gloves there. He has turned his entire Twitter into his entire Twitter page is now a running testament to the fact that Nina Agdal is a slut. Now, I'm not saying she is, and I don't even agree with that term or that vision or any of that. I'm just telling you, like, as a shorthand for me to explain what is going on this Danis guy's Twitter page that millions of people are watching and commenting on, and it's making celebrity news. It's just post after post saying that Nina Agdal is a whore. It's post after post of her next to men. And Danis is trying to make it seem like these guys are all ex-boyfriends of hers, or as he puts it, all men who have run through her. And so he's posting all of these pictures, and a lot of them, like you can tell, yes, maybe the woman has had a lot of boyfriends or lovers or whatever, but also you can see that a lot of the pictures are her just posing with men in events. I mean, she's a model. She's a supermodel. She does a lot of events. Men want to pose with her. It's like not hard to understand how if you were a supermodel, you would amass a number of pictures of you cozying up to other men. And then apparently this Dylan guy has also gone in with some of these pictures and he has superimposed faces on them. So like she's not even posing with the guy that he's saying in the picture she's posing with, right? But that's not the extent of it. There are posts on his Twitter page that are just truly disgusting. Like I don't want to show you. I know when I tell you, a lot of you are going to go to the Twitter page, and that's, it is what it is, right? But like pictures of giant stretched out genitalia with Logan Paul's face peeking out of it. I mean, stuff like that. Like, come on. Like, we don't, like, come on. I'm sorry to put that image in your mind. I know, but I'm just trying to get to you, like, help you understand how disgusting this is. This isn't just, oh, she likes the rich guys or whatever. She kind of gets around. I mean, I don't think that's fine either. But like, this is just vulgar, horrible stuff. And he's just relentless. He's been doing it for days and days and days, and he will not stop. And so I just don't think that's right. Like, I understand like trash talking between guys, but she's a civilian. Like, she didn't ask to get into all of this. It's Logan Paul's fiance, not just girlfriend, by the way. It's his fiance, his future wife, I guess, if things work out. They just got engaged a few weeks ago. That's the other thing. Like, they just got engaged and all these happy pictures, like, of like, I mean, so cute and whatever. And look, like, she may be a quote unquote gold digger. And people say, well, she's going to Me Too him one day. I don't know, maybe, but it still doesn't make what Dennis is doing. It's not right. He's not actually trying to help Logan Paul. He keeps saying that. I'm just trying to help a brother out. He'll thank me one day. No, he's not going to thank you. It's not like you're putting that stuff out there is going to change his mind about this woman that he's fallen in love with. It's just like you're just like putting them through hell and trashing her. And we don't even know anything about the situation. I mean, as if it would be right in the first place, and it's not to be saying that stuff. But man, I'm not, and so basically what's going on is that Logan Paul apparently is trying to get something done about this because it just won't stop. I mean, it's like multiple posts sometimes every hour. Like, it is relentless. And so Logan Paul's apparently trying to get something done about this. And so this Dylan Dennis guy now has been basically challenging Elon Musk, like daring Elon Musk to suspend him or pull him off the platform. And he's like, Elon Musk, you're not really for free speech if you're not going to let me stay on the platform. I don't know how I feel about it. I really do believe in free speech, and I really do think that the bar for censorship should be super, super, super high, and it's not whether it's hurting people's feelings or not. So I'm not saying that Dylan Dennis or whatever his name is, he should not be able to post what he's posting. I'm just saying that I think it's unethical that he's doing it, and it's gross and it's offensive and whatever words you want to use. And I put out a video where this connects to that Ariadna woman that I was telling you about, who sued Taylor Lorenz, is that Ariadna also has a big problem with this, as she calls it, bullying of Nina Agdal. And so she posted about it on Twitter, and this Dylan Dennis guy then reposted her and said, basically, bitch, shut the fuck up, or so. Well, he didn't say fuck, but he reposted what she had written with a clip from The Rock saying, bitch, shut up, or something like that. Anyway, but because he reposted her, her original post got like 5 million views. And so I saw this, I was scrolling through and I was like, oh my God, something that Ariadna did, it got 5 million views. And then I tracked it back and I realized that it was because this Dennis guy was reposting her or shit posting her, right? And so then that's when I went to his Twitter page to see what on earth is this about. And again, it's like I said earlier about the Manson stuff with Andrea, it is rare that I am surprised, but this was me like looking down his Twitter feed and I was just like, so yeah, so I talked to Ariadna about it in the video that I just posted earlier. And we talked about how we thought it was disgusting and distasteful and horrible. And I had some guys in my comments hitting back at us and saying that this guy is just doing Logan Paul a favor because she's going to end up messing with him sooner or later, and that no woman of value would be spreading her legs that much, and all of this. And it's just, it reminds me that there are some people in my audience. There are some people in my audience who have issues with who have issues with women, or who have points that I should be more charitable, that we have distinct differences in viewpoint about gender stuff. And I say that only because I think sometimes, because I spend so much of my time criticizing modern feminism, and I think legitimately so, but I spend so much of my time criticizing modern feminism and the excesses of feminism and Me Too and stuff like that, that there are people in my audience who think that I'm just like, anything goes. Let's just say terrible shit about women. Fuck those bitches. They're all whores. You know what? No, excuse me. No. Anything doesn't go with me. And I have talked before about my life. I'm not a traditional trad wife, I guess, right? I'm not. My life is actually not traditionally stereotypically female in almost any respect. I have no children. I'm not going to have them because I don't want to. I am not legally married, probably never will be because I don't want to. I have very sort of in a number of ways, non conservative opinions on things. I'm adamantly pro choice to the point of even being pro abortion, but that's another topic we can get into some other time. And my point is not that you all have to agree with me on all these things, but like I think some people sometimes are surprised when I actually will kick up a little bit when I feel like some of this anti-woman stuff is emerging in these conversations because I'm not anti-woman and I don't and while I don't think that it's generally healthy probably to be just having as much sex as you can have, I also think that the double standard is disgusting and horrible. Now, I understand where the double standard came from because traditionally speaking, you could not prove paternity. We didn't have DNA tests for most of human history, and we didn't have government safety nets. And so it was very important to kind of keep a lid on the sex thing. And generally speaking, there is one sex. It's the sex that actually pops the baby out that bears more of the responsibility up until recently for sexuality and the burdens of sex and pregnancy. So, with all those things combined, even though I don't like the double standard historically, I could see a reason for it. I could see that it developed not just out of this patriarchy, but actually it developed out of like the fact that there are real dynamics in life and historically that set the stage for these things. That having been said, I think today, like this double standard that still exists in some ways, I think it is ridiculous, and I think sexist or misogynist or whatever term you want to use. And that's not saying that I think women should be trying to have as much sex as they can if they don't want to or aren't inclined. And I also understand that there are certain patterns of behavior that are healthier for family structures and so forth. But I'm just saying, like, I can't get down with this bullshit. And so for people on my feed or people in my comments to try to defend to me this man ripping this woman to shreds publicly based on her sexual history or implied sexual history in the most vulgar, grotesque way, no, 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 it's not okay. It is not okay. And people, they mistake me if they think that I'm some trad wife, and that's no insult to the trad wives. And you could make a very good argument that it's better for children to have a parent who stays at home for a significant amount of time. My mom was a stay-at-home mom for many years, but I'm just saying that this kind of sexist, inhumane, unethical behavior, it's not acceptable. That's not to say I think he should get kicked off Twitter or whatever. I'm just saying, like, personally, I look at that and I just say it's wrong and it's gross. And at the same time, it's kind of brilliant because it's going to get a lot of people talking about it. And I don't give a shit about MMA or cage fights or what Logan Paul is doing with this guy. And I didn't even know who Dylan Dennis was until he started doing what he's been doing and what he's been directing toward Logan Paul and Nina Ogdal on Twitter. So I can, with the objective part of my brain, well, I think it's all objective, right? I would like to think. But I can, with a certain part of my brain, even while I find what he's doing distasteful and morally reprehensible, I can also appreciate there's a certain genius to it. It's sometimes what works is also not what is moral. So I think it's wrong. I think he shouldn't be doing what he's doing. At the same time, I can see it's working because it's got me talking about it, and I didn't give a shit about Logan Paul or Dylan Dennis before this. But it's sad, it's unfortunate, and I don't know. It's yeah. But yeah, if you want to see a crazy spectacle going on, go take a look at his Twitter page. Oh my God! Speaking of crack. All right, so what else? What else did I put on the? What else did I put on? Trying to see what I put on the YouTube, the live stream thumbnail. What haven't we talked about yet? I put Amy Fisher on there. Did anybody notice that Amy Fisher is on there? The Long Island Lolita. Long Island Lolita. So Okay, I'm gonna show you a picture because some people might be too young to know what I'm talking about here, but I'm bringing this one up for a reason. She popped into my head the other day randomly, and I was like, "Actually, no, that's a really good object lesson in the idea that a woman can be young, she can even be a teenager, she can even be underage, and she can still be diabolical and violent and awful as hell." And that's not to say it's okay for people to have under sex with underage women, or I'm not trying to get into that whole debate. But I'm just saying, like, this idea where we tend to think that young women and, like, even young women of age, like, "Oh, I was 18, I was 19, I was 20, I was 21, 22, 23, 24. My brain hadn't fully developed, and I was just this, like, naive babe in the woods." That's just generally not accurate. And so someone like, um, Amy Fisher, who did what she did when she was 17 years old, which is shoot a woman in the face. Which was repeatedly trying to seduce a man who, yes, Joey Buttafuoco, he was sleazy and gross, and I'm not exonerating him of his role in this, but like Amy Fisher. Well, let me show you a picture. Hold on, we'll start this story up in just a minute. All right, so Amy Fisher was this 17-year-old. This was like 20 years ago or something, or longer. What was it, like maybe 30 years ago? Anyway, 25, 30 years ago, whatever. Amy Fisher was this. Oh, just a second. Here we go. Amy Fisher was this 17-year-old who got into a relationship with her car mechanic. So his name was Joey Buttafuoco. There's Amy. You can see her, some pictures of her. I'll bring up Joey. Joey Buttafuoco. Got a nice mullet. There we go. Here we go. There's a picture of them. Okay. All right. So Amy Fisher lived on Long Island, this Long Island teenager, and she brought let's see, how does it go? Oh, she met Joey Buttafuoco, who was a mechanic, when her dad brought a car in for him to work on, and she accompanied her dad, and she met Buttafuoco. And apparently she was quite taken with him because she decided that she was going to keep coming back until she was able to seduce him. He was a married man. And she decided that she was going to keep coming back until she was able to seduce him. And so she intentionally damaged her own car multiple times because apparently she wasn't able to seduce him on the first round or the second round. And so she damaged her car multiple times so that she would have excuses to keep seeing this guy, this mechanic, so that she could try to seduce him. So she seduces him. They have an affair. The affair continues over a period of time. Yes, she's underage. The affair continues over a period of time, and she gets jealous of his wife, Mary Jo Buttafuoco. She gets jealous of the wife because he won't leave, age old story, won't leave the wife and all of that. So she procures a firearm. She talks a friend of hers into buying the firearm for her. This is just a babe in the woods. I'm just an innocent little teenager, but I'm coercing these people into buying firearms with me, and I'm seducing these married men. I'm just a babe in the woods. So she coerces this friend of hers to buy a firearm for her and give her a firearm. And so then she goes and visits Joey Buttafuoco's wife, and she shoots her in the fucking face. Shoots her in the fucking face. And then she like runs away. And her friend's like driving the getaway car. And she runs away. And of course, so she ends up, what happens is the woman is shot in the face. She goes into a mini coma, but then she awakens from it like a day or two later. And she says, yeah, is this woman who said that, my husband, Amy Fisher claims that when she confronted Mary Jo, the wife, she claimed that she was there because Joey Buttafuoco had seduced her younger sister. Instead of telling the wife, well, it's actually me, and I seduced your husband, and now I want to kill you and get you out of the way. Now she was like, she gave her the story, and then she shot her in the face. So Mary Jo Buttafuoco wakes up from the coma and she's like, yeah, there was this weird girl here. And she was saying that my husband messed around with her sister and that she shot me in the face, whatever. And so then Joey Buttafuoco is like, oh, yeah, it's Amy. It's the girl I've been having an affair with. So they arrest Amy Fisher. Buttafuoco. It's my, it's like my Sopranos accent. Christopher. Oh, long live Adrian. Was that her name? The one who's killed on The Sopranos, who was dating Christopher? Adriana. She had an untimely death in The Sopranos. Anyways, yeah, he ended up doing porn, Buttafuoco. So that's a great name for porn star. He and Amy Fisher both ended up doing porn, I believe. Which is where all the celebrities go after they've been disgraced. No, anyway, so my point is, though, she was arrested and she served 7 years in prison, and he was arrested too for the underage thing. And I don't know if he had to serve time or probation or what. But my point is just to say, not that, oh, it's great or okay or whatever to be having sex with underage people. But what I'm trying to say is that I just really have a hard time with this determination that so many people have to view teenage women as just being like totally like innocent or incapable of these much more problematic human behaviors and emotions. And I think Amy Fisher, I'm not saying that she is representative of your average 17-year-old woman, but I'm just saying like it is a nice object lesson for us. And I'm sure this is probably what Amber Heard was like at that age. Not shooting people in the face, but nevertheless problematic. So, anyways, all right, yeah. So what else did I want to talk about? What else? I have some things on my phone that I saved that I thought would be interesting to discuss to remind me of some stuff that's been going on. Let's see. Oh, Bianca Censori and Kanye West. What the fuck? I know they're just trying to get publicity. I get it. But like those outfits, man. Like, what zone are they in psychologically to think that anything about that looks good or is appealing or in fashion? Like, I just don't understand. But Kanye West, okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about, here, let me get their picture. Kanye West has had for several months a new wife. And I'm going to use that term since that's what he uses. And look, I don't believe that you have to be legally married to have a husband wife type relationship. I myself have been in a long term relationship, not legally married. So I'm not trying to like cast aspersions on people who don't do the whole government institution route. But I will say this. Hold on. I have to bring these people up. Okay, there they are. Don't you love that outfit there? It's one of her many great outfits. It's like he's wearing a garbage bag, and it doesn't even make, I don't know, I shouldn't even say this, but it doesn't even make her breasts look good, this picture. But anyway. So Kanye West was on this big religion kick. I don't really know if he's still on it or not, but he was on this big religion kick when he and Kim split. And so he wrote some lyrics to a song that said something like, the Bible says, this is recently, I mean, last like couple of years, the Bible says no sex for me until marriage. And so basically, here's my point. Kanye apparently got married, not legally, but got married ceremonially to this woman so that he could have sex with her. That's pretty much what I'm thinking is going on. Because he was in this like, oh, I'm going to do this new like, biblical way of life and very, traditional and chaste and all of that. And so I think that the reason why he was in such a rush to marry this woman, not legally, but to have a ceremony, is so that he could have sex with her. And I saw that too much growing up in the Baptist church. Let me just say, as an aside, there were multiple people, I've talked about this before, but there were multiple people in the Baptist church that I was in who believed that sex before marriage was wrong. And so you know how they got around that? They just got married way too early. people are always getting around stuff, or they'll, some people do it through the back door. Or this doesn't count as sex, or like the Bill Clinton version of sex. It's not sex if you're not actually sticking in a vagina. I mean, people just, they go through all of these contortions to try to square their belief system with what they're actually wanting to do. And we all do it. I get it. We all do it. But so Kanye, this woman that he's sort of married to, sort of not married to, whatever, they went the last like several months. He's been putting her in the most ridiculous outfits. And the last straw really was when they went to Italy, which is a traditionally conservative place. And she walked around in, well, I mean, probably a lot of you have seen it, but like, here, let me see if I can find the, I mean, oh gosh, I'm getting all lost here. I mean, you can see what I'm looking at here. There was one in particular, though. You probably know the outfit I'm talking about that she wore. Just a second. God, where is it? Sorry, but you got to see this. Why is it so hard to find? It's always when you're trying to find some. Oh, here we go. Okay. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this is one of the outfits. I'm gonna make it bigger. Okay, so this is one of the outfits that this is in Italy, y'all. She was just walking around Italy wearing this thing. Now, look, and her friend is not dressed the most conservatively either, but at least that looks like a recognizable outfit that the friend is wearing. But oh my god, and there were some pictures where you could, like, it was very obvious you could totally see through the top, like, you could see all of it. You could see the nipples, you could see the areola, like, you could see, all of it. And then she's wearing these tights, and then what really gets me is the white heels. That's just, like, where my brain just exploded. Oh, man. Oh, and hello to, oh, wait, I just lost it. Where are you? Where did you go? Sorry, I just saw something in the, someone saying something in the chat I was trying to find. There we go. I just want to say thank you so much for letting me know that I was in that documentary, because if you hadn't told me, I would not have I would not have known. So if you not posted that, I would have not known I was in the documentary at all. Anyway, I just want to thank you for that. Everybody check out him on Twitter and whatever, his stuff. Okay. What was I going to say? Okay, yeah, what made my brain explode when I saw this outfit is the heels. Like, yes, the whole outfit is horrible. It is disrespectful. It is disgusting. It's vulgar. It's all of those things. Dylan Dana should be posting about this shit. Nina Agdal does not wear shit like that. If Nina Agdal dressed like that, then I might say, well, she's kind of asking for the trolling. But man, when I got to those shoes, those white heels on top of those white tights, on top of that see-through leotard, and then that, I don't know what that is on her head, that turban, I just, like, my brain just exploded. I cannot. It's like one of those movies where you've got, like, the AI that its programming gets mixed up, and it's just like, I cannot process. Like, I just can't. When I got to the heels on this, my brain just exploded. But they walked all around Italy. At one point, they also went barefoot. The two of them just walking barefoot around Italy. Also, at one point, they went to visit, oh, I don't know, some historical monument or something in Italy, and she had to, like, readjust her breast, and she's just laughing, and there's all these photographers there, and she's just, like, reaching under her shirt. I mean, that's where, like, I have no sympathy for the Dylan Dennis, I think, misogynist trolling of Nina Agdal. But, like, on the other hand, if you're going to go out, when it comes to, like, whatever Kanye and Bianca Censori are doing, if you're going to go out dressed like that, like, you're wanting people to troll you. Like, there's clearly they're wanting attention. And I guess Kanye thinks that it helps them. Bianca Censori. Yes, that's her name. Or Mrs. Kanye West. But, like, it just seems like it's not very good branding, because if these clothes were actually cool clothes, then I would say, okay. I mean, even if it's racy or whatever, like, you can dress in a racy way, or you can even dress in a vulgar way. But if it's stylish, then it's like, okay. But, like, this is just like, they're like, speaking of crack, I don't know any crackheads who would dress like this. I could go out right now on my street and I could find you 10 homeless people that are dressed better than this. Maybe not as expensive. I mean, I'm sure that like these items of clothing, it's like some see-through Balenciaga bullshit or Yeezy bullshit. Yeah, I'm sure it costs a lot of money. But you're not even as dressed as good as a crack whore would be dressed. I'm serious. So it's like, what? I mean, just what is going on in Kanye's mind? And of course, I think to myself, well, he's just playing some kind of like 3D chess that I cannot comprehend it. Wait, 3D? No, it's 4D. 3D chess is just regular chess. No, but he's just playing some kind of 4D chess. I cannot comprehend it. And I see it gets a lot of coverage, but there is such a thing. It turns out there is actually such a thing as negative publicity. Yes, oftentimes it's true. Negative publicity is good publicity, but sometimes there is just like negative publicity. And he just seems bound and determined. But where it all gets confused in my head, and I don't understand, is that on the one hand, he's having his wife dress worse than a street prostitute. And yet on the other hand, wasn't he just shaming Kim Kardashian like a year ago for being too sexual and like telling her to cover up and my kids aren't going to do Playboy? And it's just like, dude, what is the discordance in your head? Well, I mean, I guess he's got a lot of discordances in his head, clearly, especially Hitler. Every human has something of value, especially that especially. That will always make me laugh. I will never stop laughing about that. That especially. And he wore that Balenciaga mask. You couldn't even see his face. That was back when he was wearing those Balenciaga masks that just totally like cover his entire face. And so he's sitting there in Alex Jones, looking like the guy from Deadpool. Wait, I have to find a picture. I know you've all seen it, but I gotta find a picture. Oh man, Kanye West, Alex Jones. Oh my god. Oh my. Oh my god, hold on a second. Hold on. I just don't know what that is I'm looking at. Is he about to rob us all? It does look like a gimp mask. How much do you think that costs? That's a Balenciaga mask. I bet idiots pay hundreds of dollars for that shit to look like a gimp. Oh man. Oh man. But this is when he went on there and he said, especially Hitler. I was trying to find that. I think it got scrubbed from YouTube though. I think it did. Hold on a second. I'm gonna look. Oh man, let me see if this is it. Just a second.
It's outdoor season. Did you know Visprin has everything you...
What is Visprin? Vistaprint. Okay, let's see.
Hitler, you're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to.
Wait just a second. Make sure y'all can let's see what's going on. Okay.
That's right. You're not Hitler. You're not a Nazi. You don't deserve to be called that and demonized.
Well, I see good things about Hitler also. The Jew, I love everyone. I'm done with the classifications. Every human being has something of value that they brought to the table, especially Hitler.
Oh man. Oh man, that is some great comedy there, especially Hitler. Oh man, I don't know. I do not know Kanye. I mean, it's a lot of it comes from the fact that his religion is the Black Hebrew Israelite. I don't know what you call it, denomination or whatever, and so it's that's a big part of their theology is this anti-Jewish stuff. So a lot of people got a lot of wacky ideas from their religion. That is for sure. And look, to people who say about the Kanye thing, I've had people get on my case about this little, and they'll say, Do you deny that there are tons of Jews in Hollywood who are running things? No, I understand. Yes, a ton of executives, perhaps a majority of executives in the entertainment industry are Jewish. But I just don't understand what point he's trying to make. When he says the Jew media, it's like, are you saying, or when he complains that there are too many Jews in the media, or what? Like, are you saying that there's some kind of like conspiracy that's keeping out other people, and it's just it's just the Jews are just excluding everyone? Like that's where I'm like, people say free speech and whatever. It's like, okay, I'm not saying that he should not be able to say these things or that he should be shut down, but I'm just saying like it's racist and it makes no sense. What is he getting at? Yes, I understand there are lots of Jews in the industry, but so what? What is the next leg of it? What is your ultimate beef? And then his beef, I understand, is that he thinks that there are these contracts, these music contracts that are these different contracts that he's had to sign where he's having to give away too much money to corporate executives and stuff. But that's not a Jewish thing. Like anybody in that position is going to want to make as much money as possible. It just so happens that traditionally speaking, yes, you've had a lot of Jews in the entertainment industry and also in certain executive positions and in business and whatever. And we could talk about the reasons for that or whatever, but it's not because there's some Jewish cabal that's just trying to like keep out black people or whatever. Like it's just not. So I'll never understand the next leg of that argument. Yes, I get it. Lots of Jews in Hollywood. Tell me the next part. Well, the next part just seems like some racist BS. But anyway, I don't know. I just can't take someone seriously when they say especially Hitler. Like you've just lost me there. You just absolutely I'm just completely like especially Hitler. Every human being has worthwhile qualities, especially Hitler. I mean, if you said even Hitler, okay, then I'm going to like in terms of the actual wording that's being used, I'm going to be like, okay, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying, we can have a debate on that, but like even someone as bad as Hitler, they've got some good qualities. But when you say especially is like, well, he had actually a lot of good things going, especially Hitler. It's just that unfortunate thing with the Holocaust and terrorizing Europe and everything, but hardly worth mentioning. Hardly worth mentioning at all. Okay, I missed a super chat up there. Let's see, we got Dan Campbell. Oh, check PayPal. Too drowsy to comment, but wanted to contribute. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And did you have a comment? Oh, okay. So I have a comment from Dwayne. He says, wait, Dwayne, are you the same as Dan? Dan says check PayPal, but when I check PayPal, I see Dwayne, not Dan. Uh-oh. Where are you, Dan? Okay. Well, maybe yours will show up in a minute, Dan. But I did get something from Dwayne, and Dwayne says, Kurtz, I just found out you're doing another live stream. Can't participate tonight. Oh, but wanted to contribute. Oh, okay. So you have two names. You go by Dan and Dwayne. Are you like Batman? All right. But thank you very much. I really appreciate that. That's great. All right. What else is going on? Y'all, I know this sounds crazy, but I could seriously do a live stream where I did nothing but put that Kanye Hitler thing on a loop and just laugh at it. I could just do that for an hour. I think I could sit here and just play that over and over. Especially. I told you, whack is crack, dude. What if I just took this right now and I just like upended it? Would you all like to see me vomit? Because that's what would happen. It's like that porn that some people are into where they want to see women vomit. This is something that I learned from Celtic Iron. I'll bring him on my next stream. But Celtic Iron was talking about how sometimes it's annoying when you do porn and they're like, the girl doesn't vomit good enough. And they're like, she's going to have to drink some stuff so she vomits better this time. It's just like, dude, our society is falling apart. We got vomit porn and Kanye praising Hitler and oh my God. Okay, what else do I want to talk about? I was going to do it. I wanted to do 2 hours tonight, so we're only going to do 15 more minutes. And that's not because I'm being stingy, but just because my guy's been gone all day and he's going to get home soon. I should spend some time with him. Like a good wife, like a trad wife. I'm going to be a trad wife tonight. I have fixed an entire multi-course meal for him. I just finished cleaning the house. I'm going to be totally available sexually. I'm just doing the whole trad wife thing. No, I'm joking. I'm actually going to be probably in a kind of a crabby mood after that. Tired and crabby. Not crabby. It's been fun, but I do kind of get tired when I come down from these streams. It's kind of an adrenaline rush, but then when I get off, I'm just like, ugh. All right. Okay. So what was I going to talk about though? There were some other things that I had saved in the phone. I save pictures in the phone to remember what I want to talk about because I'll like read an article or I'll see a picture or something and I'll be like, oh, I want to remember that, but I don't want to write it down or whatever. I'll just do a screenshot and then I know I can come back to it later and it'll remind me, oh, yeah, you were going to talk about this. Okay. Oh, I wanted to talk a little bit about, oh gosh, where is it? Just a second. Sorry. Scrolling through a lot of things here. Saved a lot on this phone. Oh, there's pictures of Shelby dancing. I don't know if you'll be able to see this if I put this up. So this, I was talking earlier about the crazy Rammstein girl that's going to speak at the Bundestag, and how when she found out she was doing all this dancing. So that's her. It's just like picture after picture, video of her celebrating. It just makes me so sick. It's just so gross. It is so gross. Chris Watts, killer dad Chris Watts is working as a custodian at maximum security prison and has a sick group of female pen pals whom he regales with gory details of how he murdered pregnant wife and 2 daughters. Yeah, that guy's messed up. I watched that documentary about him. And you know, the body cam in one of those documentaries, they had the body cam footage from one of the cops who responded when Chris Watts reported that his wife was missing. And you can just tell just from the body cam footage, just seeing how the guy is acting, that there is something clearly off about him. Clearly off. But anyway. Okay, so I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about was Michael Oher. That's it. Michael Oher. So, Blind Side is not like my most favorite movie in the world, but like I watched it and I was like, yeah, that's a nice heartwarming tale. Sandra Bullock, she did a good job. Poor Sandra Bullock. Awful shame about the love of her life, dying of ALS. It's horrible. She's had a rough time, you know. I'm going to get back to Michael Oher in a minute, but like Sandra Bullock, remember that whole thing with Jesse James? Jesse James, the motorcycle guy, had a show for a while and really famous. What was it? Something choppers. But anyway, they supposedly had this great marriage. And there were all these, you know, articles and stories where she was gushing over him and everything. And she wins an Academy Award for The Blind Side. And then, like, a week later, he's busted in the press for apparently being like a complete sex addict. Like, he didn't just have like one girl on the side. It was just like, there's a lot of girls. And yeah, so they divorced. And I just always felt bad for her. But then she found this new guy. And apparently they had a commitment ceremony and he got ALS and he died recently. So that's horrible for her. But anyway, The Blind Side. It's a pretty good movie. And a lot of you are familiar with it. So it's a true story. Well, I guess it's a debate to some degree, but like it's supposedly true story of this wealthy Southern white family. Is it Tooheys? Is that how you say it? Tooheys? I don't really remember. But anyway, I'll say Tooheys. And they adopted, well, turns out they didn't adopt, but they sort of like, whatever word you want to use. I know it's a conservatorship, but they sort of took on this disadvantaged guy who, you know, had been abandoned kind of or was neglected by his crack addict mother, and his father had died or abandoned them, and he was in poverty, and he was kind of being shuffled from house to house and whatever. And so the Tooheys, when he started attending their children's school, they took him on as their project and basically like invited him into the family and then helped him through the process of going to college, choosing a college. And then, of course, he became an NFL player and was making millions of dollars a year in the NFL until he retired in 2015 or 2016. Well, as a number of you know, he filed recently legally to end their conservatorship because they had this legal conservatorship over him. It was not an actual adoption, it was a conservatorship. And he is claiming that he was misled into this conservatorship, and also that they used him as a kind of a sort of a business project, right, to bring in money for them. And they exploited his story, and they didn't share with him the proceeds from the movie The Blind Side. Now, they have come forward contesting this in the press and through friends and spokespeople, and even the guy who wrote The Blind Side has contested this version of things. And basically, what they claim is that they didn't get that much money, and the author of The Blind Side also validates this. They didn't get much money at all from the movie thing. It's definitely not millions. And they were independently wealthy. They're already, even apart from the movie stuff and the book stuff, they were worth hundreds of millions. And so what they got, what little they got from the film, is just a pittance compared to their wealth. And so what they're saying is that they always wanted to do the right thing for him, and they did the right thing for him. And they claim that they even shared royalty checks from the film with him, but he turned them down. And they also claim, apparently, that he came to them a year ago, or maybe several months ago, that he came to them and demanded $15 million. And he told them that if they didn't give him $15 million, then he was going to go to the press and say bad things about them to make them look bad. Now, that's what they claim. So, I'm really kind of torn about this, because I was thinking, well, this is just a shakedown, and this is just total BS. And what has happened is this guy, like many sports figures do, he squandered the millions that he made. Because unfortunately, look, a lot of these guys, we know it's hard to manage money. It's hard to manage one's life and one's finances. Even if someone is really sharp, at times it's hard to manage, or intelligent, or whatever. Or someone who maybe even has some more practical sense of responsibility about money. It's still very often, it's very difficult to manage one's money. And so we know that a lot of the time, these guys who get in the NFL or the big leagues or whatever, they don't have any concept of proper management of money. A lot of them have not been raised with that, had not had that instilled in them or whatever, right? And so they start bringing in these $1 million checks, and they start spending the money, and then the career doesn't last forever. For some of them, it doesn't last very long at all. And it's not hard to lose $1 million. It's not hard to lose 100 million if you try. I mean, I'm not speaking from experience, but I'm just saying we all understand that when one makes more money, one's standard of living generally increases, one acclimates, one gets used to spending money and whatever. And so in a lot of ways, it's not any harder to blow through 100 million than it is to blow through 100,000, I think. So the point is, I was thinking, well, this guy's just definitely, it's just definitely a money grab here. And that's what this is. And he's squandered his NFL fortune, and he's unemployed, or can't make that money. So what's he going to do? And I still think that there's a very good chance that's the case. But also, I did watch Emily Baker's video that probably a number of you have seen. She spent like 2 hours on a stream one night going through the legal filing, and where he through his lawyers is asking to end this conservatorship, and is complaining about the mismanagement that he feels occurred with the Tuohys. And Emily Baker made a very compelling case for the fact that there are a number of things that are just very fishy and off about the way that this conservatorship was set up, the way that it was maintained, and the kind of the dynamic that was established between the Tuohys and between Michael Orr. And so I really don't know what to think. Like I was definitely against Orr, but then I watched Emily Baker's really interesting, insightful, very detailed analysis of the situation. And so I'm kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. But that's one that I'll be looking at. I'm interested in. Now, another one that I'm interested in is Sam Bankman. Is it Freed or Fried? You say, well, you're so interested, you don't even know how to pronounce his last name. But the thing is, like, I just do a lot of reading. Like, I haven't actually seen, I haven't not heard anyone pronounce his name. So I don't know. Does anybody know? Is it freed or fried? But anyway, I'll show you a picture. Some of you might not know. So this is the guy who is now in jail. He's now in the Brooklyn jail, which is apparently one of the worst jails in the entire country. This was where Jeffrey Epstein was housed, Ghislaine Maxwell, Keith Raniere, a number of other people while they were awaiting trial. Terrible, terrible jail. It's the one that Epstein killed himself or was killed in, depending on your perspective. But he's there now, this guy, because he oh, hold on a second. So this was the guy that founded FTX, this crypto thing, and it turns out he was doing basically a lot of white collar crime and like moving money around in ways that you're not supposed to, and like just a whole bag of shit, basically, of like crazy, unsound, unethical business practices, right? And this guy, I'll just call it Sam. I don't know again if it's Sam Bankman-Fried or Fried, but anyway, this guy, he's the son of 2 Stanford law professors. So like super, super smart, super, super educated, right? And they've now apparently taken a leave of absence from their jobs to try to help defend their son because he is facing a potential of really life in prison. I don't know how many of the charges are going to actually stick and how many aren't. And I'm not familiar with all of them. And I'm not smart enough to even I still can't even really wrap my mind around what crypto is. I've traded crypto before. I've used crypto before, but I couldn't tell you what the fuck it is. I've had people explain it to me and I'm just like, I can't understand. But, especially Hitler. But anyway, he was doing some wild stuff, living it up in the Bahamas. He had this giant penthouse in the Bahamas that he shared with some of his other fellow executives, and so it was like this sort of like frat party with an MIT inflection type atmosphere, right, going on. But they're also running these companies. It was so he was running a company, and then his ugly girlfriend, was running a company associated with his, and like there was like basically equivalent of like some money transfers, money kind of laundering almost that was going. Anyway, it's crazy stuff. Well, she turned state's evidence, and apparently the other executives are turning on him. So like they've got all these people are going down, and they're getting immunity or they're cutting deals or whatever, and so that the government can go after the main guy, the Sam guy. Well, he was supposed to be staying at his parents' home. His parents have a really nice mansion in California. He was supposed to be staying there while he awaited trial because he was out on bail, but he had to stay there at his parents' place, and he was supposed to stay off the internet. That was one of the conditions of his bail, is that he had to stay off the internet. Well, he wouldn't stay off the internet. He was using a VPN, which is something you can use to try to hide if you're on the internet, but somehow they found out he was still on the internet. And not only that, but he was passing negative information about his girlfriend to journalists, to the New York Times. And so there was this article that came out. I posted it on my Instagram like a couple of weeks ago. But there was this article that came out a while back, several weeks ago, about his girlfriend. And remember, this is the one who's now turned state's evidence and has cut a deal. But his girlfriend, and it was like personal messages and so forth. Well, the judge got really pissed because the judge said that what he was doing in passing that information about his girlfriend to the New York Times for this big article that came out about the girlfriend, the judge said that was witness tampering, that he was interfering with his girlfriend as a witness by passing this information to the New York Times about her. And so the judge called his ass into court, got cuffs slapped on him, and he is now in one of the shittiest jails in the United States, this notorious Brooklyn detention center. And and the things that people have written about this place, let me just tell you how bad this place is. And we know how bad it is because of the legal filings of various famous people who have stayed there. For instance, Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, Keith Raniere, some of these who have a lot of firepower in terms of lawyers and who can complain about a lot of stuff. And so through these filings, these complaints, hold on a second. Through these filings, these complaints about the jail, we know how bad it is. And it's like, apparently it is like hell on earth. Rats all over the place, shit on the walls, like shit kind of everywhere. And this is what really got me. I don't know why this got me. I guess just because like the idea of not even being able to get like we know prison food sucks, terrible nutrition and whatever, right? To me, that's one of the worst things is like knowing that you're never going to have like a good or really healthy meal again. But this really got me. In one of Ghislaine Maxwell's filings against this jail to try to get better conditions, she talks, the lawyer talks about how some of her food had plastic melted into it. In other words, like whatever cockamamie way that they're cooking the food back there in the, in the jail kitchen, like they're doing it in such a way so that some of like the plastic is getting like melted into the food. And again, like you may say, well, that's Ghislaine Maxwell. She deserves it. I'm not saying people, whatever. I don't believe in inhumane jails, but I understand we could have a conversation about like karma and whatever. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, can you imagine going from a life of luxury? Whether we're talking about Epstein or Maxwell, or we're talking about Sam Bankman-Fried, and I'm not trying to put him in the same category with those two, but I'm just saying, can you imagine like Sam Bankman-Fried? One day you're living it up in the Bahamas in a giant penthouse that looks like something from a vacation fantasy, and then after that you're going to your parents' palatial California mansion, sunshine and flowers and everything, and then you're going from that shit to then plastic melted into your food and roaches and mice and rats and feces. Like that, man. That is some heavy shit. And I'm not saying people don't deserve it or whatever, but that's not what I'm saying. But that has got to be a rude awakening. And there's a part of me that could actually see that Jeffrey Epstein might have killed himself. I know it's not fashionable to say that he did kill himself because it's, and I understand there's a lot of weird shit that went on, and maybe he was murdered, and it's certainly logical to think that he was. If there's absolutely nothing illogical about that. But like there's a part of me that's like, well, this guy was used to Epstein. I mean, if I read an article, a Vanity Fair article that was written about him before he was busted, back when he was just like looked upon as this kind of eccentric billionaire, right? And so there's a Vanity Fair article about him. And one of the things that really comes through in that Vanity Fair article about Epstein is how completely enthralled he was to luxury, to the life of luxury, and to having everything just exactly. And I understand when people get really wealthy, then they can sort of kind of design their environment basically in a lot of ways, but like how like everything in his life was about luxury and everything just to his taste and the highest quality. And it talked about how he was really, in particular, he was very picky about his food, that he would almost never eat out at a restaurant, even nice restaurants, because the food was just not prepared to his standards. And I'm thinking, and now he's, and then imagine like to go from that, but you're eating melted plastic in your food next to feces and rats. Like, again, I'm not saying to deserve it. I'm just saying, man, that is a rude awakening. And so there's a part of me that thinks maybe he did kill himself just because he was like, shit, I can't live this way. I mean, I don't even know how the mind processes that kind of a change. But I was thinking about that again, like a week or so ago when Sam Bankman-Fried got locked up for his dumb stunts. I was thinking, man, that has got to be like, that is tragedy. I don't mean tragedy like it's not deserved, or I don't want to get into that, but like the definition of actually classical tragedy is in a work of classical tragedy, whether we're talking about Greek tragedy or we're talking about Shakespearean tragedy, it is defined as a genre in which there is that rests on the discordance between highs and lows. And so what you find in tragic plays and tragic fiction is there's a story, a rise and fall trajectory, where someone achieves some great height in life in terms of power, prominence, wealth, what have you. And then that prominence, that height makes it that much more dramatic when they fall to the fucking pits. I mean, that's what makes Macbeth. Macbeth starts off this war hero and this esteemed nobleman, and it's not enough for him, and so he kills the king, and so he reaches the very heights. He becomes the king. But then what happens when you get to the top? There's nowhere to go but down, and he falls. He dies. He kills himself. He loses everything. Ends up killing, well, not killing himself. He ends up being sort of charging out and being killed. But my point is that high and that low, like there are some people in life, and I understand they may bring it upon themselves, but there are some people in life who really do experience great disparities between highs and lows. You think about even someone like Trump, and I'm not trying to get political here, but I'm just saying, like, 1 minute you're the president of the United States, and yeah, maybe a lot of people don't like you, but also a lot of people do, and you're riding high and you're having success and what have you. And then not too far down the road, like, everything's coming apart, everybody's after you and indicting you and like running from you, and it's just like, man, there are some extremes in this world. Or look at Marilyn Manson, who I'm not lumping in with those other people, right? Again, he's innocent. Look at Marilyn Manson. I mean, look at what Johnny Depp went through. Thank God he's climbing out of it and everything. But it's like, there are some for people who deserve it, and then also for people who definitely don't deserve it. Man, there are some highs and some lows in this world that some people experience. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to let you go. I appreciate you. I hope you've enjoyed this. Again, check out my links below. Tips appreciated, but if nothing else, like, subscribe, and thanks for being here. It's always fun when people actually show up, and so it's nice that I got, even at the last minute. I was worried nobody would show up the last minute since I did this on the spur of the moment, but we had, most of the time, we had like somewhere between 125, 140 people on this. So that's good for a last minute on a Saturday night. Everybody, what if I actually did just go out by just like, dude, you know what hell would be for me? Hell would be if I were locked up in a prison where this is all I could drink for the rest of my life. Have you ever thought about how really all that has to happen for your life to become a living hell is for like one element to get completely askew? So like, you could have my life could be exactly the way it is right now, but if you told me that I could only drink this for the rest of my life, like, that in of itself would be hell on earth. If I had to drink this multiple times a day. Oh, man. That was a mistake. All right. Bark over. It just butchered your name. But I'm going to blame it on that sip of Jaeger I had. I'm drunk. Drunk people. Jaeger put me under. Barco, thank you. Barco isn't a dog. I thought that was like your real name. Maybe I am drunk. All right. Anyway, I gotta go. Love y'all. Bye-bye. Thanks to my mods. I will see you next time.